So we are now watching the countdown to Joe Biden, and this is Thursday, and he's supposed to have a press conference at 6 o'clock Eastern time, and it's supposed to be wide-ranging, free for all, and he's going to answer all the questions. And that's, I think, is going to be the determining factor. At least in my mind, that'll be the determining factor. If he shows up the way he did at the debate, then he's done. He just can't go forward, and I think the party will pull the plug on him. And there's no reason he should want to. But if he presents himself the way he did, then what I saw of his remarks to NATO, if that Joe Biden shows up, then I think he will have put a lot of the anti-Biden momentum to bed, and then the momentum will shift back. And I'm a lot older than all of you put together, and even though let me give you a hint. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm going to give you a hint. Joe Biden is too old to be president. Donald Trump is too young to be president. Now, if you can't figure out how old I am from that, you're too stupid to be president. So that's just the way I see it, right? All right. Now, but this isn't about me. Okay, it is about me. It's my show. But let's get back to the subject here. So Joe Biden has to be forceful and articulate and clear. And he can't be using these excuses, and I was giving him a lot of excuses yesterday, and I legitimately, they should talk about the stuttering because that's a factor. The problem is, I heard what George Clooney had to say, and what he said was, he talked with Biden after Biden had given that horrible debate performance, and he was just as bad. Now, that I paid attention to because George Clooney has known him for a long time. He's a close ally of his. He raised a ton of money for him. He's a supporter of his. And if he says, I talked with him after the debate and he was just as bad in a conversation with me, then that tells me that the old Joe Biden, who won the presidency, or even the Joe Biden of maybe a couple of weeks ago, that was bad, a year ago, that Joe Biden has he's on his way out mentally. And it happens, right? It happens. It might happen to me someday. You wish it would, because then I'd shut up. Because remember, his problem is he can't talk enough. Those who think my problem is I can't stop talking, well, they're just jealous. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so yesterday I met with John Considine. And John is an old friend of mine. I hadn't seen John in over 40 years. We were both active in politics back in the day in Florida in the 80s, 70s actually. And it was really nice. I'm just saying, as a tribute to him, it was a wonderful meeting. And we're going to get together with some of our other friends from back in the day who were in their 80s. And it's nice to, when a bunch of old Irishmen get together and they trade lies. And it was a good experience. We're going to get together with some of our other friends from the day. And, just because you're old doesn't mean that you don't know anything. Sometimes we know some things. And among the things that I know is I know Harry Truman. Just saying, hey, but Harry Truman has passed on. Yes, I know that. But I knew Harry Truman. I actually met him. My dad introduced me to him after we came back from Paris. And Dad had been in charge of status of forces prosecutions in Europe. Harry Truman got my dad appointed the first assistant U.S. attorney in Indiana. And when Truman came barnstorming through town, it was in 1948, Dad introduced me to him. But I remember that campaign because even though I was just a little bitty guy, I was introduced to politics at an early age, and I followed that campaign through the eyes of my mother and father, of course. But And Harry Truman was going to lose that election big time. He didn't have a chance. The polls were showing him was like he'd be lucky to get 2 votes, his and his wife's. And the day of the election, the Chicago Tribune put out a great big. It was I forget his name now. But anyway, the editor was really hated Truman, and so they put out the Chicago Tribune big headlines: Dewey defeats Truman. And of course, Truman beat Dewey, and Truman had his picture taken holding that newspaper headline up and getting his picture taken all over the place. And that struck me because this is a fellow nobody thought he had a chance of winning, and he stayed in there and he fought like hell and he won. So it can happen. And if Joe Biden can turn this corner in terms of the perception of him, and he's going to have to really get out there. But fortunately, there's a lot of media that will cover everything he does, and if he does it right, he'll get the credit, and he can turn this around. If he doesn't, if he can't, and we probably will see a lot of that today, then I think it's over for old Joe. And so that's all I have to say today. I'm going to go watch the TV.